Hi, Bill Oxidean here. You guys haven't heard from me in videos for a while. I've been busy preparing all the boats that came in our new shipment and developing products that can make all your boats better. Well, now people are receiving their boats in the mail, and you wonder, what do I do? How do I trim this? How do I set that up? You've got a box with parts and stuff you have to put on. Well, now I'm going to do an instructional video on how to do both the Animal and the Dominator. So just stay tuned as long as this cat lets me. Well, this evening I'm going to show you guys exactly how to get your boat going in some basic settings, and I'll show you how to take it from there, because essentially this is your model and this is what you want to let your imagination run wild with, but within certain parameters it's a user's preference, and in certain parameters I don't want this cat to attack me. Here I am, an Oxidean customer, patiently waiting. I've been seeing all the ads, I've been seeing Bill on Facebook, I've been seeing other customers on Facebook. I'm waiting for my boat just so patiently. I can't wait till my Dominator Animal comes. Oh my goodness, is that USPS? I think my Animal and Dominator are here. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Can't wait to dig in. And with the magic of Hollywood, suddenly USPS brings us the package right in the middle of the video. Thank you, USPS. This appears to me to be a Dominator. Let's crack on into it. Okay, we've got our parts bag. We're gonna get straight to business. Let's start pulling stuff out. We've got a rudder bracket, a shaft, rudder itself, steering rod, turn fins, a set of Allen wrenches to take care of the job. And in this bag we've got our prop, strut nose, boot, pickups, bullet prop nut, and a few zip ties. Okay, the first thing I'm going to have you guys address, I'm going to have you install the strut nose. It's one of the more difficult things to install. So you're going to have 2 screws on either side here and 2 screws here on this post. So I want you to remove all of the screws. Just these 4 that I'm showing you, remove them. And you can do it quick and easily with the ball end of the provided wrench. Now we're going to install the strut nose to the boat. Note the hole here and this post here. We're going to slide the strut on. And these side holes, we want to slide it on until these holes line up. Then we're going to insert this adjuster post into here. Okay, now that the strut nose is installed, you want to start up here with the adjuster. You want to get the adjuster into this groove here and line these holes up like so. Then you want to place the Allen screw into the adjuster like so. To get a straight angle, I'm going to ask you to use the L end of the wrench and tighten it, get it started and get it more moving. With the ball end of your L wrench, you want to get this screw started. Just get it started, but make sure it's not cross-threaded at an angle. Okay, now it's time to address these lower mounting holes. As you see, the hole can be a little bit off alignment because of the adjustment, which is all done here in the tensioner. With the tensioner, you can screw in and adjust this until the strut moves to the point where the hole starts lining up better. As you see, as I turn it, the hole is lining up more and more as I put tension on it. Okay, now that you've got it lined up, I'm going to ask you again to use your L end of the wrench, not the ball end. As tempting as it may be because of the angle, use the L end because you don't want to misalign this area. And once you do both sides, don't tighten either one, not even the tensioner, none of them. Don't do anything super tight, just get them snug. Okay, now here I'm going to show you the magic everyone wonders, how to adjust the strut. Okay, this step, you're going to need a ruler or a straight edge. You're going to take the ruler or straight edge and line it up on the keel of the boat. See, on the keel of the boat, the actual center line of the boat. This is the keel. You want to line that up on here. And then you take it, and when you have it perfectly parallel to the keel, perfectly matched to the keel, you look at the gap. Look at the gap right in here between the ruler and the strut. And you look at that gap, and you can tell if it's at an angle. Looking closely, you can see this one's slightly pointed down, like the tip of the end of the strut nose is pointed down. That will give you a negative attitude. So I'm going to adjust the adjuster. I'm going to tighten the tension on it until it raises the strut nose up. I want it parallel with the keel. So I want that gap in there to be even. If you see towards the rear, the gap is a little bit wider. But in towards the front, it gets narrower. Towards the front here. Towards here, bigger gap, and it tapers off. That shows you, like I said, that the strut is pointed down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten on this adjuster. Then we're going to go back and check it. It's just about parallel. It needs to go a little bit more, but you see what I'm getting at. Okay, you'll find at the base of the tensioner these nuts. To lock the tensioner in place, you just secure these nuts. They're anchor nuts. Like so. Now it's locked in position. Then after you've done all those tension adjustments, you go back and thoroughly snug all these strut bolts, top and lower. And now you've got your strut nose fully adjusted. Next, we're going to install our rudder bracket. You're going to need your M3 L wrench, and you're going to need a box wrench for the nuts inside. So instead of boxed in wrench, I'm going to be using this really awesome tool that my factory actually made for me that goes inside of transoms. In here, it's actually a flex cable that I can take care of the transom with. So what we're going to do first is we're going to remove all the screws that are just anchored here in place. Wrench. So to get it started, you're going to put your rudder bracket here. Anchor these two screws in. Then you're going to line the screw back up. Screw it in from both sides. Lower. Then you're going to do the upper. Then you line up. Next, you make sure the washers are installed as this one's starting to slide off. Line up. Let's start the second set of screws. Once those are in, your rudder bracket is installed. Next, we're going to install the rudder blade. Okay, clearly this is where your rudder goes. You're going to take your 3mm, remove it completely, slide your rudder in, replace your 3mm. Tighten it snug. Now you're going to take your 2.5. Now you're going to start torquing that in. This rudder has a breakaway feature. Now this top one is the one you want to get nice and tight. If I can just get it in the groove. This one nice and tight. I mean, not gorilla tight, but get it plenty tight. There's no nuts on the back. Voila, your rudder's installed. Next on our roster is the water pickups. Now it's pretty self-explanatory where these pickups go. Okay, see the slanted edge? The slanted edge is going to be facing forward. And you're going to use your 2mm wrench. Make sure it's backed out enough to get it in there. And just kind of secure it in and snug like that for now. Let's get the second one in there. This is secured in kind of snug for now. Now we're going to do the fine adjustment. Okay, now this tip here, we're adjusting it to just where it hits right here. Just barely meets. Barely meets. That's all it takes to pick up water. It barely meets. You don't want it deeper because it's going to affect the handling of the boat and it'll create a lot of drag. But right here, you'll pick up water. And you're going to do that on both sides. You can do that on both sides where it just meets. Where it just meets. You're going to straighten out to where the slanted ends are facing perfectly forward. Again, where it just meets. And when you run the boat, you're going to check the holes. You're going to check these holes to make sure water's coming out. If they're not, no, you don't see water spraying out nicely, then you're going to see slightly, just a hair deep in these. Just a hair. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys how to adjust the trim tabs to a nice setting to start off. You're busting out your ruler again, okay? It's going to be flat to the bottom of the boat. Then you're going to look at this gap here. If you look right in there, you see about a millimeter. Just about a millimeter from the ruler. That's exactly where you want it. On both the turning side and the ride side. It's just that tiny, tiny little gap right there. And you're going to do that on both sides. Rudder away. See, you're going to do that on both sides, and that's where you want it. And you're going to adjust those via these tensioners. And again, you're going to adjust the plates via these tensioners. You loosen the nut and get the plate where you want it. Then you cinch the nut to lock it in place, just like you're adjusting bobs on your hot rod. Now, once you've greased your shaft, you're going to make sure the flat spots are facing up, because they're going to line up with these flat spots in here. And you're going to slide your shaft in. Well, first, you want to make sure these set screws are backed out just a little bit. You want to make sure they're backed out enough that you don't impede the shaft from going in. Now, a good way with ours to tell if the flat spot's up, we make our flat spot on our drive dog match the flat spots in the set screws here. So you can always tell if your flat spots are up by looking where your set screw is on your drive dog. Now you're gonna watch in here, and you're gonna look, and you can see your flat spots coming through. You can see them coming through. Okay, snug it all the way up into there. A lot of times it wants to be pulled out just slightly. Then simply gonna secure both of your set screws. Then you're gonna turn it to the L side. You're gonna cinch them down. You don't need to gorilla tighten them on there because it's flat spotted, and this is to eliminate slippage completely. So you get it on there nice and tight, but again, you don't need any Loctite. You don't need anything crazy. Just get them on there tight, and you'll be fine. Okay, we don't leave some kind of excessive huge gap right here. There's a huge myth that that the cable shrinks up so much that it takes up this gap. Our cables are great and they don't have a lot of shrinkage. So you're gonna have a little bit of a gap there. You see just a tiny bit, because there is a little bit of motor play, and that's to compensate for that. But things won't line up if you put a big jackass gap in there, like a lot of these misconceptions and myths that are out there on some of these pages. So to do the steering, to line it up, I'm going to have you remove this piece here. So what I'm going to have you do is take the steering rod and slide it in there slightly so it doesn't, to anchor it. Remove the back of it. Okay, with this removed, it's easier to work with. You're going to take a 1.5 millimeter and just have a tiny bit sticking out on the end. I'm going to have you secure this. Again, not gorilla tight, but definitely not nice and snug, because you don't want your steering slipping, but you also don't want to strip out this tiny little screw. Now you've got your steering boot. I'm going to connect your steering boot to the adjusted outlet. Now that your boot's installed, you're going to go ahead and slide your rod through the hole, fish it through carefully, and make sure not to poke any of these ribs as you're going through. Make sure it gets clean through. Slide that through. As you're sliding it through, you're going to line it up with the anchor screw right here. And you often need to back this out a little bit, just a tad, to make sure this goes in. Now you're back over here. You're gonna make sure this clevis goes in. You're gonna secure that screw back on. Then you're gonna line your boot up so it's not getting extended, because you're gonna watch your range of motion. You want your boot somewhere in the middle to where it's not pulled super out or pushed super in. So you're gonna try to center your servo horn straight up and down like this as much as possible, straight up and down in the vertical position. Then you're gonna try to straighten your rudder out as much as you can here. Then you go ahead and tighten this with set screw. Voila, your steering linkage is set up. You'll do your fine tuning later with your radio, which we'll go over in a minute.